Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Christine Matisia, the facilitator of this unit. I'm an English literature student, so I'm going to give out the presentation of my topic, which is syntax, starting from slide 1, which is the introduction to syntax. Its objectives will be that by the end of the topic, the learner should be able to define the meaning of syntax. And also, by the end of the topic, the learner should be able to define sentence and identify the criteria of sentences. Syntax is a branch of linguistics concerned with study of the rules that govern the combination of words into larger unit of clauses, phrases, and sentences. At this end, syntax aims at providing the rules for combining words into sentences, such that a sentence, for example, she loves me, it has a noun phrase plus a verb phrase and a noun phrase. The noun phrase is that she, and loves is verb phrase, and also noun phrase me. Also, describing the knowledge in language uses that allows them to produce only well-formed sentences include those they may never have come across before syntax. Syntax deals with the following grammatical units, that is, utterance, sentence, the phrase, and the clause. We start with utterance. Utterance has been defined as any stretch of talk by one person before and after which there is silence on the part of that person, according to Lyons 1968. Utterances are phonological events and they are the most basic grammatical unit of linguistic description. They are more basic than the word or the sentence. The utterance constitutes an analyzed material from where the linguist starts when he sets out to describe the grammar of a language. The utterance is not generally synonymous to a sentence. It may consist of single words such that come, go, read, a single phrase, eat now, or go home, or incomplete sentence, pen to write with. Variations in performance are variations in utterances. So we go to the next, which is the sentence. Bloomfield defines the sentence as an independent linguistic form not included by virtue of any grammatical construction in any larger linguistic form. This means that the sentence is the largest unit of grammatical description. Example, they ate food. The above sentence does the following. It displays completeness of meaning. It shows completeness of structure, which consists of subject plus verb plus object. It is not included in any other grammatical structure because it is the maximum unit of the grammatical description. It is the largest and it is in it is independent of other smaller structural units, such as morphemes, words, voices, clauses are included in it. The sentence can be classified using two criteria. The first criteria of one is the criteria of function, which consists of declarative, imperative, interrogative, and exclamative sentences. The second criteria of structure is the simple, compound, complex sentences. In a sentence, you may have one or more words. A word may have one or more morphemes. A morpheme may have one or more sound stroke morphemes. Clauses are complete structurally and semantically, while phrases are not. Mm. English has five phrases. That is the noun phrase, the verb phrase, adjective phrase, adverb phrase, and prepositional phrases. There are five principal elements or functions of a clause: the subject, the verb or the predicator, the object, the complement, and the adverb. And we go to the next one, which is traditional grammar. The traditional grammar, we deal with the historical background, whereby the study of language is as old as language and civilization. There are discussions about the importance and origin of language in many ancient religions texts, including the Bible and Vedas. A language was systematically studied in ancient civilization in India, Greece, and Rome. Some of the best-known Greek grammarians include Dionysius, Thrax, and Polonius. They classified elements of grammar and gave explanatory rules of definitions that are still in use today. They identified and defined 8 parts of speech, word classes. These were the nouns, the verbs, the participles, the articles, the pronouns, the prepositions, the adverbs, and the conjunctions. Further, they identified the sentence as the upper limit of grammatical description. They described Greek sentence structure on the basis of the relationship between noun and verb to each other and other remaining word classes in relation to these two elements. The function of the noun and the verb constituents was analyzed to yield the distinction between subject and predicate. The terminology evolved to describe the Greek language was subsequently adopted in Latin. Chief among the Roman grammarians were Donatus, 400 AD, and Parisian, 500 AD, and their object of study was Latin as a classical language. They refined further the definitions of the parts of speech, and they also expanded on the various forms of the verb. which were the active, passive, transitive, and intransitive verbs. In the 17th, 18th, and 19th centuries, traditional grammarians engaged in a systematic study of English, which is a member of the Indo-European family of language, to which Latin and Greek also belong. English did have many grammatical elements in common with these languages, but many of these had been lost or obscured as a result of extensive changes that had taken place in English. In other terms, traditional grammarians considered these changes as a sort of degeneration in language. To rectify this, they came up with prescriptive rules for English on the basis of Latin, and this approach was wrong for a variety of reasons, which are defined as the weaknesses of traditional grammar, and they include the following, whereby they ignored the fact that every language is unique in its own way and has to be described as autonomous. The second weakness is that they did not realize that the only standard which is to be applied to a language is the language itself and its usage. Also, the other weakness is that they attached more importance to the written part of language than to speech, which is which the next weakness was, instead of describing actual spoken language, they found faults on trivial considerations such as I do not know nothing, which is very wrong because it has a double negative, whereby a sentence should not have a grammatical sentence should not consist of two or more double negatives in it. Also, I will ask you to quickly do it. Instead, use of will with I and use of split infinitive, whereby the sentence is grammatically incorrect. The other trivial consideration was that, for example, is taller than me. Comparison is between he and I, not me, which is grammatical incorrect. The definition they gave of the parts of speech were inadequate and misleading. For example, participles, word classes not recognized, and adjectives and other word classes missing, which makes grammar to be difficult or to be not well understood. Contributions of traditional grammar, categories and analysis. We have the first one is the words. Traditional grammarians asserted that sentences are made up of smaller units which they identified as words. They attempted to divide words into several categories. The main categorical labels in English are the nouns, the verbs, the adjectives, the adverbs, the pronouns, the conjunctions, prepositions, interjections, articles, ordinals, and quantifiers. Other labels used include subbranch of linguistics, which deals with the internal structure of words, and traditional definition of parts of speech. Traditional grammarians tried to give meaning based on traditional definitions to the categories of words they proposed. The classification was used to describe languages such as Latin and Greek in 5th BC. These categories were then applied in the analysis of other languages like English. Latin and Greek were languages of scholarship, religion, philosophy, and knowledge, and the grammar of this language was considered the best. A few of categories of their definitions are highlighted below. The noun was identified as a name of a place, person, or thing. The next one, the next part of speech is the verb, which was identified as a word that denotes actions or process. The third part of speech is pronoun, which was identified as a word used instead of a noun. The next part of speech is adjective, a word that modifies a noun or a pronoun. The next one is adverb, the word that modifies a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. Preposition, a word that indicates a relationship between the noun or pronoun. It governs with another word which may be a verb, an adjective, or another noun or pronoun. The conjunction, a word that joins together sentences or parts of a sentence. The interjection, a neutral used to express pain, surprise, anger, pleasure, or other emotions. Okay.